The O'Reilly Factor's on tonight.
If we don't consider this a hate crime, this can happen over and over again.
Big controversy in North Carolina as 3 Muslims are murdered over a parking space. But some are saying this is a hate crime. We will have a Factor investigation tonight.
White policemen are killing black young folks, such as women, men, and children.
In California, some young children are now taking up the police abuse mantra. Very disturbing. We'll show you what's going on.
What do you love about America?
Everything, except for the politics.
Also ahead, Jesse Waters taking a tour of the ethnic neighborhoods in Los Angeles. Did they like him?
Okay.
Caution, you are about to enter the no-spin zone from L.A. Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly, reporting tonight from California. Thanks for watching us. 3 Muslims murdered in North Carolina. Was it a hate crime? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. On Tuesday in Chapel Hill, 3 Muslim students were murdered, shot dead. They are 23-year-old Daya Shadi Barakat, his 21-year-old wife Yusor, and her 19-year-old sister Razan Mohammed Abu Salha. Police have arrested 46-year-old Craig Stephen Hicks. He is charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. Investigators say Hicks shot the victims over a parking dispute. The FBI now looking into possible hate crime violations, but that investigation has just begun. Hicks is a malcontent, a troublemaker by all accounts. He's an atheist who has attacked all religions on the net and has also advocated for gay marriage. Almost immediately after the shooting, the verbal accusations began.
With the media bombarding every American every day with news about what they call Islamic terrorism, none of which is Islamic at all, they're really preparing people for such tragedies and triggering them and provoking them.
Whatever the motivations for this horrendous slaughter, it takes place in a context where subtle, persistent anti-Muslim bias is a part of American life. And this feels like a wake-up call.
I want to take this minute and I want to ask people like Fox News and Bobby Jindal to stop this dehumanization of Muslims. It's really, really starting to take a toll.
Now, that's just vile. But it's standard issue these days. Talking Points grieves for the 3 murdered young people. They are innocents, destroyed by a disturbed individual. Just as all the human beings being destroyed by the jihadists around the world are innocents, murdered for absolutely no reason at all. It is simply revolting that any person would throw around accusations against people who had nothing to do with the murder. Governor Jindal of Louisiana is a fine man, a patriot, who helps millions of people. It is long past time for all decent Americans to condemn those who use murder to advance a political agenda or seek vengeance against those with whom they disagree. The FBI will find out if these murders can be classified as hate crimes, just as the agency did in Ferguson, Missouri. But for the haters among us in America, facts don't really matter, do they? And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight reaction. Joining us from Washington, Guy Benson from townhall.com and Kevin Sullivan, a reporter for the Washington Post who is covering the story. Mr. Sullivan, I just got back from North Carolina. Parking dispute. That's the first report out of the local police. Is that true?
Well, that's what they're saying, and you have to remember that at this stage in the investigation, that's really all they have. There is absolutely no proof yet that this is a hate crime, if there ever will be, but there have been there's a lot of suspicion, as you've heard the family saying that they suspect that something's going on here. The dad was on TV yesterday, the day before, saying that his daughter told him that she had several run-ins with Mr. Hicks where it seemed clear to her that her religion was a problem for him, and other neighbors had said that things were fine. Hicks was clearly a troublemaker, and it was fine when Barakat lived there with a male roommate. But when his wife moved in with him, it got a little bit more tense, and they suspect it's because it was clearly evident then that they were Muslims because they were wearing the hijab. So there had been a lot of tension there.
But they examined initially Hicks's internet site. And he's an atheist and he hates all religion. I mean, the quotes are just vile about all religion. So I guess it is possible that, you know, because there was a demonstrable attire associated with a religion, that might have set him off. Mr. Benson, how do you see this? Is there evidence that it was sparked by something other than the 3 victims' religion?
There is some evidence to that effect, and the fact of the matter is, Bill, at this time, we don't know what happened. That's the key. We don't know the facts of the case yet. That's why the investigation's going on. When we look at this man's past, he's clearly an unstable, very angry person who had particular contempt for people of faith, especially Christians, by the way. And it seems like, based on the evidence, again, that we have so far, this could well have been him snapping over a long, simmering parking dispute, of all things. But the fact that people are jumping to conclusions, look, I'm not going to fault the family or a grieving community for trying to make sense of something that's so awful and senseless, but we in the media, and certainly political figures, have a higher responsibility to actually follow the facts of the case and not determine a narrative ahead of time. That's irresponsible.
But this is exactly what happened in Ferguson, Missouri. I'm not going to say it happened in Staten Island, New York, because it was videotaped there, and people could see for themselves what happened. But in Ferguson, nobody knew what happened. And then everybody went out and said X, Y, and Z, inflaming the situation. Mr. Silva, I'm interested in how you, as a Post reporter, Washington Post reporter, do you trust the police in North Carolina? Have they been open to you?
Oh, absolutely. The police, I think they've told us everything that they know about their investigation. I have absolutely no doubt about that at all.
Okay. Now, are they adamant about that there wasn't a religious component here, that it just was a disturbed individual who was angry with these people over some parking controversy at the housing complex in which they lived? Are they adamant about that?
No, they're adamant about the fact that this is preliminary and that people shouldn't jump to conclusions. I think that's what we're seeing. But when you talk to people down there, when you talk to the Muslims down there, they understand that. And most people, they've had university and local and religious leaders out there saying, let's not jump to conclusions. But a lot of the family and people close to the family and people who speak for the Muslim community down there, they say that whether or not religion actually triggered this or whether it was a parking space, they feel like it's emblematic of something that they feel all the time. They do feel like there's sort of a double standard in America where if a Muslim commits a crime, then immediately people think it must have something to do with Islam or ISIS, or it's something to do with his religion. And they tell me if a white person commits a crime, then they must be mentally ill. And they say they never give the Muslim the benefit of the doubt that maybe he was just nuts too. They say it has to be something about his religion, and they say that's, they say that they're held to account for things that happen on the other side of the world too, and they say that's no more fair than holding, O'Reilly and Sullivan accountable for something that's some atrocity by the
certainly,
IRA,
if that were happening on a mass scale, their point would be correct, but I haven't seen it. Even after 9/11, we didn't see a lot of anti-Muslim violence or anything like that in this country. It's been rather benign. Last question for you, Mr. Benson. The father, and you pointed out, a very emotional time right now, but he brings in the big picture of, hey, the jihad doesn't have anything to do with Islam, and he looks like he was making a political point there.
And I think that's his right. He just had 2 daughters slaughtered for no good reason whatsoever. He is in grief. And so I'm not going to cast stones at him. But when there are people who go on television and say, hey, regardless of what the facts, they're actually arguing, regardless of what the facts turn out to be in this case that we're turning into an emblem, it doesn't matter because our predetermined, pre-written narrative holds true anyway.
Yeah,
that's
it's
ridiculous.
the same thing as Ferguson. America's a bad country, persecutes all minorities, so even if this was over a parking spot, America's still a bad country, and that's what these people do. That's what they sell. Hey, gentlemen, very good. Thank you very much. Footnote, Charles Krauthammer was supposed to lead the program today on a terrorism-related story, but Charles is ill. Wish him a speedy recovery. We'll see him next week. Next on the Rundown, President Obama criticizing the Staples office supply company and doing so in a very personal way. Then later, liberal America taking a big hit with the departure of Jon Stewart. Those reports when we come back from California.